With just days remaining of the season, transfer season really does seem to be picking up the pace. We've got some big news regarding Aaron Ramsdale to talk about Jurrien Timber and his future, and a triple exit, which includes that player that I've already alluded to. Let's jump into the Arsenal news show. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is the Arsenal News Show, joining you every single morning at 8 a.m. UK time. Thank you as always for joining me and making this a part of your morning routines. It's incredibly appreciated. I hope you had a fantastic week. Welcome to Friday. The weekend is here. Very much looking forward to it. It is going to be a shorter show this morning because I'm heading off into the office today. So do be aware of that. It'll only be 15 to 20 minutes long. And then I've got to grab a taxi going into London because I usually would drive to the station, but I can't drive. And it should be very obvious reasons why that's the case for this evening's activities. Right, shall we jump into the chat box? I think we should. Good morning to Peekahoo, to Blackshine, to Glenn, to Paul, Arasilki, Stephen, Matt G, Damien, Gooner 76, Shari, Morgie, Clincy, Lee, Franklin, Jose, Damien, Temmie, Carl, Kevin, Mr. Reese, Stevie, Angela, Alison, Steve, and plenty more of you guys and girls as well. Thank you so much for doing so. Do help us on our way to 1K every single day by hitting that thumbs up button underneath the screen. It would be incredibly appreciated if you could do that. So thank you very much for it, Tom. No, it's not you, Les. it's because I want to have a drink this evening. That's the reason. Right, shall we jump into today's stories? I think we should. A successful home kit launch. Did you get your hands on the Arsenal home kit that has just been released? I'm sure there's plenty left, but I remember there's just a thing at the moment with the Arsenal website running out of stock of things. I mean, I've had T-shirts cancelled this year that I wanted to get hold of, even though I'd paid for them. I had to get a refund because they run out of stock. So you never know these days. You never can trust it. So if you did get hold of it, well done. Let us know who you got on the back of your shirt. You know, yesterday I got my hands on one with Kai Havertz on the back for next season. He is certainly my pick. I think Kai Havertz stands as something of a lesson to us all, a lesson of patience, a lesson of second chances. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what his second season might look like. So that's going to be exciting. Cedric and El Neni are two of the three players that I've alluded to that could indeed leave the club, or will indeed leave the club. Fabrizio Romano tweeting yesterday, confirming once again that both of them, there's no indication whatsoever that any contract extensions will be made and that both will leave Arsenal in the summer as their deals expire. So very much looking forward to us replacing them with some significant quality in the squad for next season, or promotion from within, as well as also an opportunity that could be chosen by Mikel Arteta. Jurrien Timber has not been chosen as part of the Netherlands squad for the European Championships this summer. This will come as good news to supporters, to fans, and of course to the club as well, as Timber continues his rehabilitation, his recovery, and his full return to full fitness. And of course, a pre-season, which will be very important for him. So I'm looking forward to seeing Timber maybe get an opportunity to play on Sunday. If not, we'll be waiting, of course, for pre-season to get the best of a look in at Jurrien Timber and to see whether or not he is going to be a starting figure in the team next season, as he seemed like he was threatening to be at the beginning of this season. But an entire season out, huge blow to us having just signed him in the summer, but a brand new signing effectively for next season already in the bag. However, our headline story of the day is that Aaron Ramsdale is said to have agreed a move. He's agreed to move to Newcastle this summer. Speaking on the hybrid squad yesterday, if you haven't yet watched it, make sure you go and catch up on the show. James Green, good friend of the show, Sky Sports reporter, saying on Highbury Squads that it is his understanding that Ramsdale has agreed a summer move to Newcastle, and that this comes from a source close to the players' camp, and that he's very confident in this source as well. So this was obviously something on the cards previously. We've spoken about it on the channel. The possibility of Ramsdale going to Newcastle was something that was being spoken about. Could this give potentially something for Arsenal to negotiate with for any of the two players that Arsenal have a significant interest in, being, of course, Alexander Isak and, of course, Bruno Guimaraes? We don't know. We don't know about the fee at this moment in time. We don't know, of course, if this has been agreed between the clubs. All we know is that Ramsdale, according to James Green, has agreed a move to Newcastle. But of course, on the club side of things, we're still waiting for that information to come on that side regarding how much that would be. But Bruno Guimaraes, Alexander Isak, two players Arsenal are very keen on. Could this have an aid in negotiations in that sense? We will have to wait and see. I would personally think that this is going to be a standalone deal, but of course it could help in future negotiations between the two clubs about other potential signings. But I'd expect this to be a standalone deal. Arsenal signed Ramsdale for £24 million with £6 million in add-ons. I wouldn't expect many of those add-ons have been necessarily achieved after just one season of full football, a second season, of course, without much football, but it would depend upon what the add-ons were, which we haven't got the finer details of. But it was only £24 million and we signed him with £6+ million in add-ons. So if Arsenal can get upwards of 35 to 40 million pounds for Aaron Ramsdale, it would represent a significant profit made on a player as well on the books. That would look quite good. So let's keep our fingers crossed that Arsenal can get a very good fee for Ramsdale this summer. Now, you don't need to pay a high fee at all to get your hands on potentially an amazing piece of Arsenal memorabilia, because if you buy a very reasonably priced ticket for the latest football prize, you could win a signed and framed Arsenal 23-24 shirt with a number of the first team squad signatures emblazoned upon it. There's also some instant win prizes such as a Declan Rice signed and framed shirt, a Saliba signed and framed shirt. Not just a signed shirt, not a signed and framed shirt, just a signed shirt, and a Zinchenko signed shirt as well. All the links for that are down in the description. UK only, of course, as well. Best of luck to all of you that are getting involved. And let us know if you're successful. Well, let's go to part 2 for a quick fire round of questions before I got to shoot off my train right after this. Lovely stuff. Right, let's jump into the chat box, shall we? And go through some of your thoughts. I imagine there'll be quite a lot on the Ramsdale situation. Saralb says, sad to see Rambo go, but was bound to happen. Wish him all the very best, except, of course, against us. Anakin says he wants to be second to Pope. No, I think he'd go in and be the immediate starter for Newcastle. He is a better goalkeeper than Nick Pope. Nick Pope's distribution, of course, is very much in question. Great shot stopper, great commander of his box is Pope, but an all-round goalkeeper, Ramsdale, is certainly better. Talib says they don't care about any swap deal. I don't think they do, but it doesn't mean that Arsenal won't, of course, try to still go and sign one of their two, even not maybe both of their big players that they are interested in. Alison says, I hope we get a good fee for him. Me too. I really am hoping that that's going to be the case. Matthew says, if Ramsdale's going to Newcastle, is it like Kieran Tierney going to Newcastle? Then I fully expect to see Rambo strutting his stuff in La Liga next season, because it won't happen. It did seem for a long time that Tierney was going to be going to Newcastle, and of course that didn't happen. They signed Lewis Hall from Chelsea instead. Ethan says, what's the minimum amount that Rambo's deal has to be classed as a good deal? I think £35 million would be what I'd expect as a minimum for that to be good. It's always difficult, isn't it, coming at minimums, because you're like, is 35 good? So is 34 bad? It's kind of, where do you draw the line? I think that trying to get upwards of £35 million for a goalkeeper of Ramsdale, people will be saying we should get 50, 60. I saw people suggesting those things yesterday. The reality is that's not going to happen. You're not going to get 50, 60 million pounds for a player that barely played a minute of football last season. Yes, he's of a good age. Yes, he's under a long-term contract, but getting 35 to 40 million pounds, I think, for Ramsdale would represent a very good bit of business still. And Pope is actually 32 years of age, says Ephraim, which is a really good point. Damien says he ordered his Arsenal shirt yesterday during the show, even though I'm not a particularly big fan of it. I got Saka on the back with the Arsenal font and the Champions League badge. If you get in from the Arsenal website, it's got to be the Arsenal font and the Champions League badge. It absolutely has to be. No questions asked. Alvamod says, what about getting Kulusevski? He's a Gooner, and I suspect he is very disappointed in Spurs right now. He was one of the few who came on at City and really did try. I don't think so. I think the boat for Kulusevski, mate, is probably passed. Ben says, Arteta's weird because he'll probably go and replace Raya in a year or two. Ben, why does that make him weird? This is a weird, if anything, that's a weird take. Because as Arsenal fans, should we not want our manager to be ruthless? Should we not want nobody in the squad to be safe? Should we not want our manager to always, regardless of how recently we've signed someone, try to find the maximum quality possible in the team and upgrade at any opportunity that we can? Nobody should be safe. The biggest fan of Martin Odegaard in the world, but if you can find me someone better than Martin Odegaard, and I'll tell you, that's a hell of a task to do. I don't think you'll succeed. But if you can find an upgrade on anyone, you should be ruthless at this level to try and achieve it. So why wouldn't I? Why would you call that weird? It's a bit of a strange one, that for me. Raf says, which player do you think is most likely to have a redemption season next year? Good question. Redemption season depends what you define by different redemption. And could you talk about the fact that Partey's missed the entirety pretty much of this season? Could he stay, have a really good last year of his contract? Could that be something of a redemption story there in terms of his footballing fitness? Could you look at a player like Sambi Lokonga returning from loan from Luton and potentially establishing himself as more of an option in the Arsenal senior squad next season? Is that potentially an option for him? Could a Zinchenko or a Jesus, despite rumours of their potential exits, could they have something of an impact? Martinelli hasn't had the best of form last season. Could he come back and be a really key part of the squad next season and be a key starter and push Leandro Trossard out of the side as well? Could Fabio Vieira have a redemption season? There's a lot of players, I think, in the squad that are in line for that as well, and maybe we'll have to wait and see if they can. Could Jurrien Timber redeem what has been a very sad season for him of missing so much of the season as well? But there you go. Ben says, I'm all for upgrading pieces of the squad. Goalkeepers do tend to require some stability, though. Raya, knowing he's wanted, could increase his level. Not for the hyperbole, though. Sorry for the hyperbole. No, I appreciate the apology. But I understand where you're coming from. I know that goalkeepers can tend to maybe require a bit more stability than other positions, but if you've got an opportunity to sign somebody that can upgrade a position, I still think that is what you should probably prioritize as well. Avinash says, with the Euros approaching, what kind of disturbance can we expect from the tournament right in the middle of the transfer window? Should the teams rush to complete signings before or after? Of course, it's not just the Euros, Avinash. It's also the Copa America, which is taking place in America this season as opposed to in South America. So that's going to be one to watch and keep your eyes on. It also depends upon profit and sustainability regulations and accounting. Of course, some deals will want to be completed after June 30th. Some deals will be wanted to complete before June 30th, depending upon when club want deals to show up on their books. Of course, deals can be agreed prior to those dates and prior to them being officially registered. But I think you're going to get a mix. I think you're going to get a mix of deals. I think it won't necessarily affect how many deals are being done, but I think you'll see a mix of deals getting done. For Arsenal, I think it will probably be latter. I think it will be more so after the tournament, but across the window, I think we'll still see the relative number of deals that we expect to see. And I think there'll be more spending this summer than we saw last summer as well, because I think there'll be a greater capacity for some clubs to spend this summer. Chris says, hey, Tom, have you seen the João Neves links? If we could see Kimmich and Neves in the midfield, Xavi Simons for the right wing slot and a cover player for Odegaard and a Diamande at Saliba's position as well, it could be a fantastic summer. João Neves is a fantastically talented player. I've not had that checked up personally. I think it was Team News and Ticks that revealed that on his Patreon as well. But he's a talented player, that's for sure, at Benfica. They just continue to churn out the quality, can't they? You can't stop them from churning out brilliant levels of quality, can you? Fuad says, will you be covering the Euros? I will be, but not from Germany, sadly. I'll be covering them from here in the UK and doing some work around, of course, the Arsenal players that are going to be out there, and, of course, any transfer targets as well that we might be involved with. But you can be sure that we'll be doing plenty of tactical breakdowns over the course of the summer window. I am moving away from Y-Scout, though. I have decided to make the decision that there won't be any Y-Scout coverage. Reason being for that is, quite frankly, the website's what it's charging these days is ridiculous. I invested around £250 to £300 a year to use Y-Scout on the channel, and it's really expensive at that level. It's recently gone up even more, and I just think I just can't legitimize the idea of paying 400 odd quid for Y-Scout when I can use FBref, for instance, which is a really good free website I can use to give you some really good in-depth stats as well. So I hope you understand why I'm not taking the decision to spend 400 odd quid on Y-Scout this summer, but we're still going to be going through all the stats that are available to us with FBref, which, to be honest, the only thing that you really got with Y-Scout that was different was kind of the graphics that allowed me to kind of kind of annotate, which we've stopped using really because I think the statistical analysis is a lot better. You can go and watch any kind of videos of players to get a better understanding of what they're like to watch, but statistically, do not need to spend 400 quid for stats. It's kind of ridiculous. And he says, morning, Tom. Do you think the club will be happy that this Ramsdale story has broken with an important game on Sunday still to play before the season is over? Of course not, but it's the club. They can't control everything. They can't harness every story. Stuff always comes out throughout the season at any time. It's always going to happen. But I mean, if anything, maybe it gives us a bit of a peace of mind about Ramsdale. Maybe he can say something of a goodbye properly on the final day of the season as well. With more of this story breaking at this point in time. Right. I am going to wrap up the show there. Sorry that, as I said, it is a shorter show today, but thank you so much for tuning in. Very much appreciate your time. I hope you have a fantastic Friday. Enjoy yourselves and enjoy the fact that you'll be having a fantastic final weekend of football available to you as well. It's always an absolute pleasure to speak with you. And stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.